just turns around, gun's already pulled, right at my chest, red laser pointer, red laser beam right on my chest. And whoa, right?
How do you pivot from like, because you go from financial different things and then handling things with the city?
I don't want to penalize anybody. So we're in charge of executing the vision for the city.
I think the market would overreact if Russia would wind up invading Ukraine.
Right? You got this amazing business, dude. So proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. That's not why I looked up to you. I looked up to you because you're a family man.
What's up, guys? Today at Empire is the Way, I got a dear friend of mine, Joey Magazine, Miami Beach commissioner, family man, pillar for the community, and he's all the way into fitness, showing you that you can have tattoos and still be a, somebody who's doing big things in the community. So thank you for being a part of the
thank you, my
pod.
man.
Absolutely,
this is exciting
bro.
Stuff.
Good to
Exciting
see you
stuff.
again, man.
Great to see you.
What does it mean to be a commissioner of Miami Beach? Like, what does the job entail? What is it?
Yeah, so I'll tell you two different things. One is what that job is, and how it relates to Miami Beach. Commissioner, we're essentially the legislators for the city. The way Miami Beach works, we have 6 commissioners and the mayor. So we're in charge of executing the vision for the city, planning out what Miami Beach is going to be, what Miami Beach isn't going to be. When we looked at something like we were having issues with spring break. Yeah. It's easy to say this isn't who we want to be, but we got to have a vision for, all right, what Miami Beach is going to be. So we put in together the vision, carry out that vision. We write the laws, enact legislation. So, when you think about a mayor for the city, that's essentially what we serve as a body to do. That's cool enough. But being able to do it for a place like Miami Beach, brother, if you would have told me that, growing up, it's just a dream. I fell in love with Miami Beach watching Miami Vice. Right, Miami Vice just had its 40-year anniversary actually just this weekend, and it's just iconic, right? When you think about all the things in history, the TV shows that are made there. You go over to Europe. I was just over in Europe. I didn't say, "Oh, I'm the commissioner," but people are like, "Where are you from?" "Oh, Miami." "Oh, Miami." Yeah. He is known on just a global level, right? Everybody, you say Miami or Miami Beach, they just envision that white sand beach, the sun, the bikinis, the fit bodies. The blue water, that iconic Ocean Drive. You have a studio just a block away from there, so you know exactly that branding, that culture that goes about it. So it's been the honor of a lifetime to be able to serve my community, and at the end of the day, that's what it is: public service.
You started. You got the role earlier this year, correct? Or
yeah, I've been elected for less than a year, and I'm not a politician. Even now, I say I'm not a politician. I just hold elected office, and. If I was going to do a politician, I probably would have asked you for one of my tattoos to stop below the neckline, right? So this is not like a role I saw myself in 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even 2 or 3 years ago. But I was super active in my community. I got involved. And one day I just said to myself, I go, I dedicate so much time to caring about my city. I have 3 generations of my family living here. I'm a single dad raising a 7-year-old girl. My parents live here. And I live and breathe this city. Like, I wake up thinking about what can make it better. We're so blessed. My favorite movie, bro, is A Bronx Tale, right?
Yeah, and Collagino.
Favorite line is, "There's nothing worse in life than wasted talent," right? So my standard for excellence in Miami Beach is sky high because I know its potential, right?
Yeah.
The template is there. So if anything is imperfect, like, I take that personal. I'm like, all right, well, how can we, fight or move to make it as best as it can be? And I was involved for years and years in the community, especially now as dads. It's not just about us anymore. It's about our next generation, raising our family somewhere. So super involved. And then one day, if you would have asked me 3 days before I followed the run, I would have looked you dead in your eyes and be like, that's not for me. Right?
Really?
I'm involved, but that's just too much. One day I just looked in the mirror. I said to myself, I go, Joe, dedicating so much time, but you got 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So put your money where your mouth is or take a step back. And I'm not a guy that could take a step back, but Miami Beach is unique, man, especially from a political standpoint. Like, there's this ingrained political system, right? I'm not Jewish. I'm not Hispanic. I'm not even registered as a Democrat. So I had no natural base where to start. You know where I started? A pair of tennis shoes, right? I put on a pair of shoes. I go, I don't have all this. I don't have 30 years in the community. I don't have a natural base to fall back on, but I have a work ethic and I'll never be outworked. And over the course of like 8 months, put on that pair of shoes and about 4 others after I wore them out. I went over, I knocked on 6,000 to 7,000 doors in the middle of Miami summers. My family got involved. My wife, she was involved out knocking on doors. My parents are wearing my t-shirts with my names on it. My little daughter, right? Middle of August. She's sitting there sweating, but pick her up from school. All right, Daddy, where are we going? We're going to go out. My goal, my sole goal, talk to as many people as I could. After I got elected, guy comes up to me at, I think he was like the manager of Prime 112 or something like that. He goes, you're not going to remember me, but one day, pulling out of a parking garage, I kind of cut you off. I thought you were going to like flip me off. But you go, you know what? It's okay. I'm Joe Magazine. Just vote for me. He goes, you know what? I did. And it's just like that. So every single day that I got up, I didn't take a single day off. People would be like, oh, come on. One day. Come out for drinks. Come out for food. Man, for 8 months, I eat dinner in my golf cart, right? Whole Foods, macaroni and cheese. And then I go out and keep working. That was my competitive advantage. Wasn't going to be money. Wasn't going to be, 30 years in the community, or I was multi-generational. It was just hard work, and I connected with people. So whether it be at the grocery store or some guy cut me off, pulling out of a parking garage, or getting involved in the community and the school, we knew each other from Elevation Fitness, right, over downtown. But during that campaign, I was like, I want to spend every single second. So even if it's at the gym, I changed where I went to the gym just to talk to people, get my name out there. But it wasn't one-sided, right? It was like, yeah, this is my vision. But what do you think about Miami Beach, right? What can I do to make your life better? Because at the end of the day, that's what it is, a public service. Yeah, I have my vision, but I'm a representative of people. So I have to represent them. Yeah, I have my way. But at the end of the day, if you're my constituent, I need to represent you. So it was a two-way street where it was like, okay, trying to sell myself, but also hearing from people about what they wanted from Miami Beach, right? What they wanted from their local representatives.
How do you separate that? Because there's the vision that we have for different things. Obviously, you have your vision for Miami Beach, and then listening to everybody else and different demographics, different ideas. Maybe they don't have the same type of experiences in certain parts of life, and some do. So to grab everybody's vision and kind of put it into, I guess, like a melting pot, and separate yours from theirs, because you're representing them, right? Like how do you?
It's one of the most fascinating things in the world, right? Miami Beach is so incredibly diverse, and that's what makes it great. There are quite literally some of the wealthiest properties in the entire world. People with just generational wealth you couldn't dream of, right? There's houses on North Bay Road where a dry lot of land, no home on it, right? You still got to take years to build your home. $45-50 million. Right? You have some of the richest people in the world living there. I'd go up and knock on their door, say, hey, this is who I am. But I also met people that they needed help, bro, right? And that was the most fulfilling. And I would sit there, I'd have my map planned out. Okay, here's the doors I want to go to and knock on each day. Ironically, the less well-off, the poorer an area, the longer it would take me to get through. Right? And why is that? Up in North Beach, areas where, they're a bit less well off, some of these people, they didn't have a connection to the community. I would knock on their door. They didn't care if I was Joe, Schmo, Don, Dan. They were glad somebody came to talk to them and they cared, right? I went into some homes. I had to take out people's trash, especially some of our older residents. It was clear it hadn't been done in a week, 2 weeks. Right? They're living on a third floor walk up. They're 80 years old. I know they're not making it out each day. They were just so glad, so warm. I knock on their door. Right? Hey, here's who I am. Didn't matter. Come on in. Let me make you a cafecito. And that's why it would take long is I'm like, listen, time is money here, but how could I pass this up? Right? Whether I'm elected or not, this is one community and you're inviting me into your home to make me coffee because you're just glad somebody's here to talk to. Right. They didn't care what my policy was, what my vision was. It was just about connecting with the community. And it's a challenge to bring those together. And it's what makes Miami Beach incredibly unique. But, Florida in general, but Miami especially, has seen record wealth move to our city, right? You see these real estate prices, you can't even envision it. It's like monopoly money. But at the same time, you see people that are struggling, right? People that have lived here for multiple generations, they're being pushed out, right? And my job is to represent all of those people. There's no playbook for this. I didn't go to school for this. You just got to do what you think is right. Every single day you wake up, and it'd be easy if I could reference something and it's, what's the law say about this? Or, what's the scientific formula for this? No, you have to just go by what's in your heart. Some days I get it right. Some days I get it wrong. But I'll always care, and I always just try and do what's right. When you do that in life, whether you're a public servant, whether you're a father, whether you're a business person, a fitness connoisseur, you do what you believe is right and you try and be a good person. I think more times than not, you're going to come out on the right side of things.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think it's just being a net positive to society as a whole is really the goal, right? At the end of the day.
Listen, I'm a man of faith, and I don't ask God for many things for myself, right? But the one thing that I did ask is to be blessed with a happy and healthy family. And at first I started saying, well, I want my kid to cure cancer or be a millionaire or a billionaire. Mm-hmm. At the end of the day, then I go, life's more simple than that, bro, right? I'm going to ask for one thing. My beautiful little girl here, that she leaves the world a better place than she found it. And it's not my job to say, well, you should make this amount of money, or you should have this job or this title. If at the end of the day, she's able to make a positive impact on the world, and when her time comes, she leaves the world better than she found it, I think that's a net positive. And that's all I can hope that I do as well.
Absolutely, man. What was the pivotal moment? Because you said 3 days before you actually ran, you were like, no, I wouldn't run.
Yeah.
No, you said you looked at yourself in the mirror, but was there something specific that like, okay, this was the spark that lit up the flame?
Bro, it's that Miami cafecito, right? It was just one day I was like, whoo, oh.
That was
it. I had been super involved all along, right? And it was just something that I didn't think would be possible or realistic. I have a little girl, she's 4 or 5 years old. Man, it's going to be so much time away from her, right? But the way that she embraced it made it a memory that we share together forever now, right? When she's 5 years old and like she didn't have a concept, but she knew her daddy was doing something important, right? And that's what really held me back, is thinking, man, I want to do what's better for my community, but that's going to mean time away from my family. And yeah, there's a lot of that. But during that campaign, which was just the busiest time of my life, she really embraced it. And listen, there's a lot of people that didn't vote for me. They voted for her,
Right,
I'm grateful for that. And listen, you put her on my arm long before that. I don't know if you remember that. Yeah,
of course I remember.
And listen, as you can tell, she's a lot cuter than me.
Yeah. So, I mean, but at the end of the day, even so, she's a representation of you and how you carry yourself with her. That's your daughter. Yeah. And that, people are going to vote for that because they're drawn to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So no matter how you look at it, I think it's still a representation of you.
Yeah, right? I think being these macho guys with tattoos and hitting the gym, having a little girl humbles us. And I told you this story, but it hadn't been for years. I don't know if you remember it. We'd been going to the same gym together, Elevation. We hadn't connected yet. Bro, I'm a macho guy, you're a macho guy. So we walk by each other, like, oh, okay. I'm not going to look at him, but I know he's there. And it was during COVID. And my little girl was 2, 3 years old. Right. I didn't have family or support system down here. I was a single dad. So during COVID, I'd bring her to the gym.
Brought her to the gym,
right?
Yes,
and she's sitting there messing around on the floor. And you just walk by her one time. You didn't make a huge deal, but you connected with her. And I said to myself, you just smiled, looked her in her eyes. Hey. I go, you know what? I bet he has a daughter. There's a softness to guys like us that can't be replicated for anything else other than the little girl.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. It's a very humbling experience to raise a woman in this world. I mean, a girl to a woman, and obviously that's a challenge in itself, especially just the way that things are is very challenging. Yep. Society is very challenging. What they should do, what they should not do. You're there to guide them. Should I give them all this info? Should I not? When to hold back? What to give? It's very challenging, I actually chose to kind of open up as much as I could, because if I didn't give her the tools, then at some level, it would be my fault if they don't get them, you know? So
Yep.
I'm very open with mine, and I know you're doing a great job with yours, so I admire that. Man.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate
respect
it.
that.
Again, it's one of those things. There's no playbook for it, right? You
Yeah.
do everything right. Life throws, variables
Yeah.
at you, right?
Yeah.
So there's no, it'd be easy, right? If you go, you just like bodybuilding, right? It's not rocket science. It's just about discipline. You say you lift a lot of weights, you eat more protein than carbs, you don't eat fat, you do cardio, you're going to look like this, right? It's science. Raising a kid isn't science, right? It's about going with what you think is best in your heart, and you hope that that's the right way, right? There's no playbook. It's not science. There's no saying, if you do this, this will be the outcome, right? I'm a really disciplined dude. I'll never be outworked. So that'd be easy. If you told me, if you do this, you're guaranteed of this outcome. And in fact, that was probably one of the hardest mental things about running for political office, because I dedicated my entire life to it, right? And there's been very few things in life where you go, as long as you do this, here will be your outcome. Maybe not exactly, but there was no in between, right? There wasn't like, you did good, but you didn't get there. I looked at it, I was like, you win or you lose. And I dedicated my life. I took time away from my family. I spent a lot of money, spent time I'll never get back, but I wasn't ever guaranteed of an outcome, right? If I did that and I knew, and you told me you have to work this hard, I'd make it easy, right? But thinking the entire time, man, you could dedicate an entire year of your life. You could spend all this money. You can put yourself out there to be analyzed every single day in the public, which I was. But maybe you get it. There's no guarantees. That other person's out there working hard as well. Yeah, that was tough every single day mentally, because you don't know. It wasn't one of those things like you do X, you get Y. It's like you do X, you just cross your fingers and hope for the best.
Yeah.
When I was going through it, I probably worked, I'm a humble person. But the one thing I will say is I worked harder than anybody had that I'd ever seen in Miami or Miami Beach, because that's all I had, like I told you. But what motivated me? Never once did I think about what that phone call would be like if I won, right? Never once. I was never like, oh man, you know what? It'll be so great. And everybody's like, hey, Commissioner, this. Every single day I woke up and my body hurt because I had walked 10 miles, knocked on 200 doors, talked to people in languages I don't even know, right? I always thought every single day getting that call, man, you didn't win, right? And I go, what if I lost by 5 votes? And I wanted to go out with my friends that one night when they're like, oh, dude, one night. The only thing I pictured is getting that phone call of like, yeah, you did all of this. I'm sorry, it wasn't enough.
Right.
And that's what motivated me. It was never like, oh, here's how glorious it'll be if you win. It's like, you know what? It's really going to suck if you lose.
So what is your vision for Miami Beach?
Embrace greatness. Embrace greatness. It truly is. I love this place. I'm raising my daughter there. She goes to school there. We are so blessed. I have the highest standard of excellence, and anything short of that, I'm not doing my job, right? I'm not using this as some stepping stone to Congress or Senate. The only thing that I want is to make Miami Beach the #1 place in the entire country, maybe the entire world, to live, work, visit, and raise a family. Now, sometimes some of those things conflict, right? Miami Beach is known for, all-night partying and things like that. But we're also maturing as a city, right? You have jobs coming down here: finance, Wall Street, tech, film and studio. On Lincoln Road, this great new film producer is actually bringing 60 to 70 jobs, looking to grow into 150. They just took 30,000 square feet in office space. They're going to do this AI 3D design studio. So it's like, yeah, nightlife will always be an element of Miami Beach, but it doesn't have to define us anymore, right? So the key to so many things in life, whether it be family, health, fitness, is finding that balance, right? Yeah, how can we still be the fun in the sun place, but also be a place where people are comfortable raising a family, right? we should be Disney World clean, bro, right? You shouldn't walk out and be like, okay. In my mind, there was too much of just like accepting the status quo. You go down and be like, well, yeah, but that's Miami Beach, right? No, if the streets aren't clean, I'm not doing my job, right? If we're still, after 3 years of me being in office, we're still discussing about bringing police to guard against spring break, I didn't do my job, right? And I'm not going to be one of those that sits there and uses this to pat myself on the back or try and make myself look good. There is no harder critic of me and the job I do than myself, right? Because like I said, I'm not doing this for some other reason or to elevate my status or my profile. I'm doing this because I ride around town in a golf cart, dude, right? I love it. I have a car, a motorcycle, a Vespa. I fell in love with riding around town in a golf cart. And if I could ride around with my 7-year-old girl and be proud and feel safe and just feel like we're living like that Miami Beach life, that's like such a great barometer of how we're doing it and how we're progressing as a city.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. I've been there for 15 years with my business. So I've seen different epochs. I've seen the crazy Memorial Days, the spring breaks. And, I'm in a business that is very, it's a luxury item. It's tattoos. It's not like a necessity, so to speak. It's almost like liquor stores, so to speak. People get tattoos when they're happy and when they're sad, But we have dealt with a lot of people who are coming for spring breaks, a lot of out of towners. Tourism is a big community for us. So it's something that we definitely wouldn't want to see slow down, but definitely level up, right? So is that something that's also in the cards for Miami
without
Beach?
a doubt. So my private life, 20 years in investment banking, right? So that's what I do. Every single thought decision I make, comes from that prism.
Mm-hmm.
So unlike, previous commissioners or mayors, I lead with a carrot and not a stick, right? I don't want to penalize anybody. You're a business owner, right? We should have aligned interests, right? But we have to facilitate the vision of the city we want to see. But I need all my partners to be doing well as well, right? We need community buy-in. I'm not looking to slap anybody on the wrist or say, no, you do this. It's like, if we create a truly prosperous city, a rising tide lifts all boats, right? So if you can't make money that way, we're going to find a way for you to make money this way, right? It's when you make a place great, when you embrace greatness, economic development is by definition going to be a part of that, right? And our job is, when we have some of the wealthiest people in the world, and we have businesses moving down here, we have office space, bro, coming down to some of these new projects for $170 a square foot. That's more than One Vanderbilt or Hudson Yards or the most luxurious places anywhere else in the world, right? They're coming to Miami Beach. So we're embracing that greatness, but we need to make sure that we don't have people that are left behind as well, right? Yeah. Because I want everybody to share in that dream. Like, I get so excited. I pick up the Wall Street Journal or South Florida Business News. It's like, this guy, he's moving his office down here. We have Bausch & Lomb, their CEO just leased office space. This company is moving down here, this hedge fund. But we need to make sure that person has been living here for 30 years. They're taking care of their abuelo. They're sharing that prosperity as well, right? They're not sitting there saying, oh man, here comes another company. My rent's going to go up. So how can I afford that? I don't want this company coming here. No, I want everybody to be like, we're sharing in this Miami dream, right? Because this is truly like the Wild West, but in a good way, not the bad way. It's like a new frontier. Mm-hmm. It truly is. And it's almost a foreign concept to me, loving somewhere where you live. Like loving somewhere where you live. And that's why I'm involved, not because I'm a politician, right? If I was living in Pittsburgh, I wouldn't be like the commissioner of Pittsburgh. If I was living in Chicago, I wouldn't be like, oh, let me be an alderman. No, I got involved in my city because I love it, right? I love it. And it's such a cool concept to wake up every day. And I never realized how important that is to life, to really love where you live. And Miami is unique in that way because very few people have to live here. Right? I was born in PA. If I would have stayed there, I'd be staying there just because I was born there. Mm-hmm. So many people come to Miami, not because they have to. Your job isn't like, sorry, Johnny, you just got transferred down to Miami Beach. It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
you're moving to Miami and Miami Beach because you want to. And a lot of people, they go, you know what? I'm going to move here and figure out life afterwards. I'll tell you, not knocking it, but that's where people do tend to get in trouble, right? They move down here. They're like, you know what? I'm moving to Miami Beach, or I'm moving to Miami and I'll figure it out. So then you get caught up in the nightlife and it goes, I'm going to go out one day a week. All of a sudden you're out 7 days because there's always something to do. There's always the coolest places in the world to go to, the coolest people. You get caught up in that lifestyle. I'll tell you, I think the key to really, really moving down here and having a long shelf life, really prospering, is to make sure you have things going on, right? Not just the social aspect. That'll always be there. Have your life figured out. You don't have to know exactly what you're going to do. Have a job where you need to wake up in the morning, right? Because if you start leaving that to chance, you're like, I'm not sure what I'm going to do, but Monday night, I'm going to be at the Swan party. That's where all of a sudden Monday night, and then Wednesday night, you're at Baoli, and then, Thursday night, you're here. And all of a sudden, 3 months go by, you're like, I got to get the fuck out of here.
Yeah. It sounds like you know all the spots.
No, yeah, of course. Listen, like I said, Miami, while maybe it's not going to identify us anymore, fun, entertainment, and nightlife is always going to be an aspect of that, right?
Yeah.
I moved down here because I wanted that kind of blended experience.
It seemed to me like things were getting more serious when I started looking at the restaurants, and they were like, oh, by the way, Michelin star rated, Michelin star, out of nowhere, like, 8 or 10 restaurants. I'm like, oh shit, because prior to the, what year was that? 22, I think it was?
Yeah, 21.
They really just came out of nowhere. And I'm like, okay, now people are getting really serious, because that was one of the complaints. Like, oh, the food stinks, it's all tourists.
You look at a neighborhood like south of 5th in Miami Beach, right? It's the preeminent dining destination, maybe in the entire world. Poppy Steak, they're doing $24 million in revenue. You have Carbone doing $24 million in revenue. You have Milos. You have Catch that just opened up. Mm-hmm. You have Philippe Chow that's going to open
Joe,
up.
That's always been there,
Joe's
right?
is a staple of Miami Beach, right? Like
Smith and Walensky down there. Right?
It's whatever you want. Why I love Miami so much, you could make it anything you want. Right. And that could even be like weekend to weekend. If I want to be in my board shorts and hang out at the beach and put on my hat and not look at anybody and get tan and go to the beach, perfect. Right? Perfect. You could live that beach bum lifestyle. But if you want to have somebody in town and impress them, and you're out of the fanciest restaurants and you're looking for celebrities and you're seeing cars like you got that I don't, you could do that. Right? You could do anything in between. That's what makes a place great, right? When there's such like a healthy, diverse mix of what you're able to do. So
local politics versus national politics, what's the difference for the person who's just listening? Because we were just talking about that. I in my mind, I'm just thinking is one branch of the same. Yeah. But then localized, maybe it's just a totally different situation.
People don't understand. Like they get so caught up. Trump, Paris, blah, RFK. I'm not saying that's not important. But when you walk out of your door each day, all politics is local, right? Whether your street is paved or not, whether your daughter or son is going to a good school or not, whether your city is safe or you sit there, you need to arm yourself, that's all local politics. And it's weird. I hold political office, but I hate politics, right? Because when I think politics, like I think at the national level, I'm like, all those people are doing is dividing us. Yeah. Like you think there's a difference between him and her or them. No, they fight just so you have neighbors fighting. So that's a distraction to them, right? That's all one political class. Yeah, they might say, should this policy be this or that? They're all eating together. They're going to the same parties. They're using the same taxpayer money. We're together, right? And I will never be in that national politics, right? Yeah, it's important, but all politics at the end of the day is local. And the things that impact your life so much, all of that is going to boil down to be local, right? The things I watched that debate the other night. I'm like, what if this impacts my life? None. When I wake up each day, questions they're asking, maybe it helps you pick a team. Because that's what politics has become nowadays, right? When you look at the national level, it's not about trying to work together to get things done. You're like, you know what? I'm team blue. I'm team red. And then you're just looking at things through a prism or a vacuum. I'm actually registered as NPA, non-party affiliated, because I don't like to have a preconceived notion for how I feel about things. And a lot of times my views are actually very nuanced. In this world of getting information 24/7 and having to make decisions, one thing that I'm trying to get better at is being comfortable, not having an opinion on everything. Somebody comes down the street, they're like, Joe, how you feel about abortion? I'm like, it's complicated. Yeah, I don't feel the need to sit there and be like, well, shouldn't have anything after 6 weeks because I'm red. You should do anything because I'm blue. You know what? I understand that that's some complicated stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't feel the need to be like, let me have an opinion on that and go and sell that. That's just one example. There's a million other examples. Right. And it's not like brushing off responsibility, especially as a community leader. But I feel as if in this 24/7 news cycle where politics is just pushed down our throats, it forces us into an opinion. And I grew up kind of apolitical, right? I can't remember sitting there watching my parents yell about Ronald Reagan or Jimmy Carter or things like, oh man, I'm dating us, but
That's all right, man.
Yeah, it's growing up, I couldn't even tell you what my parents were. And until recent years, I probably still wouldn't have done so with 100% certainty. But now, society, we've kind of been forced into this team sport to be like, yep, you see this on my shoulder? Here's my jersey. Right. I'm team this guy or I'm team this woman. I don't know. Is there a need for that? Right? How I go about my day shouldn't hinge on what I think about Ukraine and Russia doing. Yeah, I have my thoughts, but I'm not the world's foremost expert on that. So why am I going to try to just so I could keep up with CNN or MSNBC or Fox and rehash those talking points? So it's I kind of feel as if we're getting forced to do some of those things. And I'm trying to take a step back, be like, you know what? I'm going to be okay not having a strong opinion on things that are being kind of forced down our throat in so many ways.
Yeah, good for you. So you said that you're just talking about almost like a routine. What is your routine? Because you're the commissioner. You still have a full-time dad. I mean, and you're fit.
Fit-ish.
Very fit.
I was very fit. I'm fit-ish.
So the average person looking I'm sure somebody's rolling their head how the fuck does he stay fit, strong, mental clarity, allow the bullshit to pass? There's a lot of moving parts there. What's your secret?
When I actually say it out loud, I probably will be like, oh shit, it's listen, I have a great support system in place, right? Family is everything, man. Family. What can you do in life without family? And especially Miami, when things are so materialistic, right? You'd be like, oh, that dude's got a Lambo SUV. Okay, cool. What's he go home to at night? Right. What type of example is he setting for his kids? Maybe he is, right? I'm not saying they're mutually exclusive,
of course.
But the past few years, maybe it's just part of growing up. It's really changed my perspective about what's important, right? Family, giving back to community, setting a good example for my child, maybe anybody else as a community leader that may be looking up for me. Routine-wise, my one non-starter that I need every single day is to get in some workout, right? I was over in Rome, Amalfi, Barcelona the last 2 weeks. Woke up 5:30 a.m. every day, going to the hotel gym, bringing my little bands. I'm not even working out as intensely or as hard, but it just gets my mind right, So I always either start my day with that or get that in before 11 a.m. So I either wake up super early, 5:30 in the morning, get that out of the way, take my daughter to school, get to my office desk by 8 a.m. and get my investment stuff done, then start engaging in some city stuff. And politics, bro, is 24/7, right? There's no I'm going to disconnect. Somebody's calling. There's things that need to be done. It's a city of 90,000 people. some weekends we have 500,000 people. Miami and Miami Beach is epicenter of the sports world, the culture world. We have F1, Art Basel, Super Bowl, World Cup, always stuff going on. You get to work on all that cool stuff. I was actually talking about a World Cup event today in my office at City Hall. I got a call from a lady. I knocked on her door 8 months ago. I said, you need anything, you call me. She goes, I have a disabled parking placard, but they're making me pay full price at the parking garage, right? And I have to help with that. So it's like, I could be talking to the celebrities and coolest people in the world about doing the World Cup event, but I still got to help Wanda because she doesn't have money to get out of the parking garage, right? So what I love so much, there is no typical day. My day is, I know what needs to get done, right? I know fitness needs to get done. I know I got to be the great dad and family person. I know I need to make money because without that, none of this is possible. And I need to help my community, right? And that day usually starts about 5:30. And you know what? The busier I stay, the better engaged I am. One of my biggest fears about when this all is over is I don't know if I any longer have the ability just to like sit there at peace. Yeah, you know, like I'm not a big vacation guy. I'm not like, oh, let me go sit on the beach and just be at peace.
Right.
There's never any time I'm not working. Never, ever. Right. Whether it be in the morning, and multitasking is the key. People laugh at me. They're like, bro, every time I call you, you're at the gym. I'm like, no, you just call at the same time every day. And that is my ability. I'm only able to talk to you when I'm on the treadmill. Right. Every time I talk to you, you're on the treadmill because listen, I can't talk to you when I'm working my investment banking job. I'm not going to talk to you if I'm with my family. So if you want my time, you got my treadmill time, bro. Take it or leave it.
And that's pretty good.
Yeah.
How do you pivot from like, because you go from financial different things and then handling things with the city, because there's a pivot there. It's a two totally different hats, right? What is your way to be able to pivot from like something so extreme to another extreme? Yeah,
the one thing that's great is some things in life are black and white, right? The one thing that's always been black and white for me as an example is this: I love to go out, love to have fun, drink, have a good time. I've never, ever had one drink and driven, right? That's black and white, right? When you start getting into the gray, we live 99% of our life in the gray, 99% of it. But there's some things that are black and white, right? And I always said, if I have one single drink, I'm never going to drive. That's black and white to me, right? Because you start being like, well, 2 drinks is in the gray. Well, 3 drinks in the... No, I'll keep it simple, right? And another thing that is black and white for me is I don't, conflate my work with city politics. We see people, rightfully or wrongfully, that have kind of conflated those two. Even if it's legal, it just causes headaches that you don't need. So those are just 2 totally separate entities for me. Now you got to be able to be like, okay, well, I'm sitting here looking at the bond market and the stock market, trying to find out what company can buy another. But I might get a call from Wanda, trying to get out of the parking garage. Yeah, I got to pivot because Wanda's going to call me 3 times. Right. I'm a representative. So, but I'm never going to be like, okay, Wanda, I just helped you get out of the garage. Can I put you in this IBM stock? My time is conflated, but my decision-making tree never is.
Very interesting, man. Yeah. It's a hard pivot, but I think it comes from experience and just confidence and knowing how to get things done, man.
Yeah, when even for the fitness thing, right? People are like, oh, you're 41 years old, you still go to the gym every single day. How do you do it? You don't wake up and say, your internal clock say, Steve, should I go to work today? You just know you got to go to work, because once you start asking yourself things, you will always be able to find an excuse, right? And if you start, especially when you get our age, right? 41 years old, your life is busy, fucking shoulder hurts just because you slept on it wrong, you'll always find an excuse. But if you just tell yourself, there's some certain things in life I need to do. There's going to be days I don't want to, but I need to. You don't ask yourself, am I going to come into work someday? And some days you're going to be sick. Some days you're going to be cold, hot, hungry, full, but you got to come to work. Same thing with other priorities in life, right? Same thing with the gym. Same thing with being a family person. You start asking yourself, my body feel perfect today? No, I'll take the day off. I just keep it black and white, right? I got to go to the gym. If I feel good, I feel bad, got to do it. Same thing with work. Same thing with being a family person. And to me, what I've had in the past few years, same thing with helping in the community. When I moved to Miami about 10 years ago, I was living up in New York City.
Were you doing the same investment?
Investment
in New York
banking. It was living the paper dream, right? Like I graduated school in 2005, and I started out working as a trader at Merrill Lynch. And that was like the dream job, right? Like Merrill and Goldman, where it was like working for Apple or Facebook or Meta nowadays, right?
Is that Wall Street? Or?
Yeah, Wall Street.
Wall Street,
and the trading desk I was on, it was like, the epitome of the Big Short, if you've ever seen it. So hard charging, wow, New York finance, like what I've dreamed. I watched Wall Street, Michael Douglas. I'm doing it. Incredibly fulfilling, right? But there was an emptiness to it. It was weird. You're surrounded by millions of people and you're so busy, right? You're on Wall Street, you're working your ass off. It's hard to even imagine 15, 16-hour days. But I felt a sense of emptiness, right? I was like, my life is so self-serving. I'm so busy, but New York is such a rat race. You got to work harder and harder and harder, not to like live some incredibly like lavish life. You're like, well, I have 5 roommates now. I would just like to work my ass off to get down to 3 roommates. It's like, it is truly the rat race. Right. But it was all very self-serving, right? There's no community aspect. And I started falling in love. I was probably like 28, 30 years old about moving to Miami. And I thought I had an opportunity lined up. Came down here, met with the same company like 3, 4 times. I started looking at places I'm going to buy, envisioning how my life was going to be, what gym I'm going to, what parks I'm hanging out at. It was like, no. I was like, what? Holy, my world was devastated, right? And like I said before, I'm a man of faith. So I said to God, but also myself, I'm like, you know what? If I'm ever blessed, so blessed to be able to carry out my dream and move to Miami, I need to give back because I see that emptiness that I'm feeling in New York, like living such a self-serving life. When I get down there, I don't know how it's going to be, but maybe I'll go to old people's places and feed them soup or go during Thanksgiving. And I look 15 years later and my life is dedicated to public service now. Now, that was never like how I envisioned things. It wasn't a step-by-step playbook when I moved down here. It was like, I'm going to do this first and this and then run for office. But you just kind of go with what's natural, what you feel is right. And interesting the paths in life where it takes us. You never know. And I have no idea where this is going to take me. It's going to keep me in Miami Beach because I love that. But we don't know where life goes. And that's what makes it fun to wake up in the morning.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Where does Miami Beach end? Like the actual grid?
Like literally? Yeah, it goes from Smith and Walensky all the way down at South Point. All right, you're at Government Cut.
Is Fisher Island included?
There's parts of Fisher Island. Yeah, parts of Fisher Island. But Government Cut right there, busiest cruise port in the entire world right now. That's where all the shipping containers come in. One of the most picturesque scenes ever. And it goes up into 87th Street. That's the uppermost
87
boundary.
is the cutoff.
Yeah.
87 is the cutoff.
Yep.
Does that also include, like, for people who don't know, like Star Island?
Yeah, Star Island.
That's part of Miami Beach?
Yeah, and that's what makes things so incredibly unique. Up in North Beach, like I said, you have people, especially seniors, living on fixed incomes. You haven't been out of your home. Then you have the wealthiest real estate in the entire world on Palm Island, Star Island, celebrities, the richest people are the ones you've never heard their names. It's not like Shaq or even it's that Greek shipping heir, whose family owns MSC and they're not even a publicly traded company. Yeah. But you got to represent all of those people. And what's really cool about Miami, I'm sure you've realized this as well, is 10, 15 years ago, Miami was Miami Beach. Miami Beach was Miami. But now you have all these incredible neighborhoods. Even this mysterious location here, somewhere out in the abyss. But you got the Design District and you have Midtown and Brickell. When I first started coming down here, I'd walk through Brickell. My office was there. I'm like, man, this is really
was it
cool.
10 years ago?
Yeah, 10 years ago. Yeah. I'm like, Brickell is cool. I don't get it though. I was like, you got all these beautiful buildings. There's no people around. And now they must have more foot pedestrian traffic there than anywhere outside of New York or Chicago. Like the vibrancy, the young people moving down here, it's like an entire ecosystem. When I compare Miami, I think one of our sister cities is like LA, right? So I'm like, all right, well, what makes Miami unique against that? Yeah, in LA, you have downtown, and then maybe that's where you work. And then maybe you're living somewhere else, and your beach is Santa Monica. But it's an hour here, an hour there, an hour there. Yeah. You have such distinct neighborhoods in Miami. You have world famous Miami Beach, right? But in 10 minutes or my 7-minute motorcycle ride, I could be at my office in International Business Hub in Brickell. And then you could go over to the Design District, right? Which is like Rodeo Drive in Beverly Hills on steroids, where you're like, where do people get, who are these people that are shopping here and carrying all these bags? But then Midtown and, all of those areas in between, all very unique neighborhoods, but it's all melting together now. It's truly giving something for everybody.
Yeah, you literally could go 5 minutes. It's like everything is like 5 to 10 minutes away.
Exactly.
Really,
it's
really
so
is.
Concentrated, consolidated, great walkability. It's our weather is perfect. People are like, oh, Miami summers. Oh, it's the best time for the beach. You could be at the physical beach. 8:30, 9 o'clock, right? It's perfect. I'm like, yeah, you ever been in New York in August in a suit getting down the subway? Yeah. It's not fun, but yeah, okay, we deal with a little heat and humidity. Rest of the year is perfect. And I actually quite enjoy the summers. Yeah. Do I want to walk through 20 blocks of downtown in my suit? No. But we're also situated not to have to do that as well if we don't want.
Yeah, I remember in New York, it was Orchard Beach, Rockaway Beach, or Jones Beach, and you would have to take the train and hot. Everybody's on top of each other just to try to get a little bit of water. So it was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, and I worked, lived and worked in Manhattan for like 15 years. It never made sense. You're like, I'm dealing with the rat race here. The weather sucks, but you know what? Summer's coming. Summer's coming. It's going to be amazing. Yeah. And then the second summer came. All like the movers and shakers and the cool kids, they're like, yo, we're going to the Hamptons. And it's like, wait, you're living here like a rat. You're waiting for summer. And then as soon as summer comes just to be cool, you're like, all right, I got to leave. It never made sense to me.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. So, all right, we got pretty much as far as like the commissioner, right? Yeah. What is the biggest challenge that you face thus far in the few months that you've been in office there?
Yeah, it's you're going to make hard decisions, right? I was elected by 50.5% of people. 15,000 people voted, right? I won by 67 votes. So 67 votes. Wow. So anything I do, there's going to be 50% of people that are like, that guy's a fucking moron. Hey, so for some of those things, they might be right.
Have somebody called you out on that?
Worse than that,
Really?
Yeah, I was chased out of people's homes, and that's the toughest part, right? I grew up where I'm like, I try and do good. I don't need everybody to like me, but I try and be a pretty positive guy, friends with everybody. But there's just some people that are, for no other reason than just to go against the grain. That guy's an idiot. Oh, he's corrupt. He's doing that. It's like, no, you lead with your heart. You do the best you can, but not everybody's going to agree, right? Proven by me winning by a little hair. I still try and represent those people and do what's good, but there's a lot of decisions you make that naturally people are going to come down on the other side. So to see that, especially as my daughter's 7 years old and her not understand, politics is dirty, man. Like nasty. During that campaign, the things that were sent out to people's homes or text messages. My daughter's in first grade at the time, right? And her friends are getting mailers, say, yo, your daddy is this, or he said that, or like distorting my face, or text messages that are straight lies. It's hard to go home and be like, honey, don't worry about that. Right. So it's like, I don't need to be everybody's friend, but it's never easy just, getting smashed and smashed and smashed. You just got to keep your convictions, know in your heart you're doing the best that you can, and move forward.
And that's not, sorry to cut you off, but that's not at some level is not illegal. It's like pretty much lying on your name, all that stuff, where it's just fair play when it comes to politics.
It's a dirty business.
All's fair in love and war type of thing.
I guess so. And I try not to be like that, right? I try taking the high road, and not to say that I'm perfect. And, even the lady I ran against, she probably wasn't even like in charge of that. Listen, there's a lot of interest, whether it be in Miami Beach. There's a lot of stakes, so people are going to have, strong vested interest to see. Okay, it's my friend in power, it's my friend out of power. So there's a lot going on. So people, it's all is fair in love and war. I don't like it, right? And if you talk to the people that are actually running, I think 90% of them would say the same thing. But it's, there's an entire business that's made behind the scenes, right? There's a lot of money being raised. In Miami Beach, you had some guys run for mayor. They're raising $2 million, right? $2 million for a small town of 90,000 people to run for office, right? You can only spend $2 million in so many ways. So they're sending out mailers like, this guy is a Cuban dictator, or this guy is he's this with China, or he's
trying to
from
bring
Britain.
Communism into that kind of stuff.
Crazy stuff, man. Like, you try and stay positive, just be like, you know what, that other guy, that's not who I'm running. I'm running me, so I can only tell you what I'm going to do. And if I can't sell a case promoting myself, and I have to say what my opponent is, bro, in my mind, you've already lost. You've already lost.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting, man. So tattoos.
Yeah. Hey,
we got a bunch of projects there.
Yep.
Right. So what made this investment banker guy, you know what I mean, now politician, get into the world of ink, bro?
Well, I had tattoos before the investment banking, man.
I remember.
I was this suburban skinny kid trying to be cool. I finally wore down my mom when I was 17. My first tattoo was either 16 or 17. I just worked on her every day. My mom's strict, man. I grew up in an Italian household.
Yeah.
She never agreed with it. She just got sick of hearing it. I just ran to the tattoo. Mom, let me get my initials here. I just pointed at the wall. I forget if they were even my initials. I think the guy just put on what was at the wall, right? But I saw where life took me, investment banking. But that's what's cool about Miami is like, we have this culture where people don't get caught up in that, like, you got to have this image, you have to have that, because like I said, everybody, they don't have to be here, they want to be here. So it truly is a melting pot. Work investment banking, politics, did a neck tattoo here, you did up and down my arm here. I had some existing ones. Yeah, you know what? I don't think that would fly up in New York. Even my same job, maybe even my same company, Miami's just a different vibe, right? Especially politics. But the one thing I never did was try and hide that, right? Yeah. From day one, I wasn't like, I got to hide all this, or I need to be somebody I'm not. So now I don't hide it. Now it's like what you see is what you get, right? And that's how I kind of live my life, where you just be genuine. You either like me or you don't. There's going to be plenty of people out there that don't, but I'm not going to try and be a chameleon and be a cat for the cat people, be a dog for the dog people, and then in between for everybody else. No, you stay to who you are. And I think that's pretty much accepted in Miami, right? Like, there's no preconceived notion of, you need to do it this way, or you need to do it that way. Yeah, you can't go in the office in board shorts. There's a standard and things like that. But it's a little looser down here, but that's what makes this place great. It's not stuffy. You can be yourself, and that's embraced.
No, I love that, and I respect that 100%. The originality and because you say you hate politics, but you're in the political sphere. So for me, looking outside in, I'm like, that's super cool, because this guy's fully original. I mean, that's what I'm looking at, and he's about his, and he is who he is, and he's letting the world know it. And through the tattoos, that's kind of like the culture that I'm adding into Miami. So for me, it's a big deal. It's kind of like, wow, if you could do it, anybody. I'm not saying anybody could, but you know what I mean? It's possible, right? So. Yeah,
you were a pioneer in this, Steve. Like, seriously, you helped build up this industry. You helped the gyms we go to, right? It's unique because, yeah, you see a tatted up guy like you or me, we'll use somebody else, but you see this guy, you're like, man, he's stepping into like a $200,000 Audi or something like that. Not that, that is symbolic of wealth or life or things like that, but especially in Miami, when I was going out in like nightclubs, right? 20 years ago, I'd go out in New York City. You're like, man, that dude's got all these girls at this table and they got like $5,000 or $10,000 of champagne. That's an investment banker from Morgan Stanley.
Right.
And you could tell exactly what he was, what he did. You could tell out his life. And you go down to Miami, it's like that same guy. You're like, bro, that guy has the front table and he has neck tattoos, but they're not drug dealers. They just have their own thing in life. And I think moving down here, when I was in New York, I had such a preconceived notion about what success meant and even how you made money. And even if we're saying that there's a loose relationship between, making money and being successful, although there's different definitions of success.
That's going to be one of my questions is what success means to you.
Yeah.
Go into your rant.
I don't want to start thinking about that. Yeah. Preparing. But I had a preconceived notion of like how you made a living in New York. It was like, you know what? If you want to make a really nice upper middle class living, you go and work for Johnson & Johnson or Procter & Gamble. If you really want to push the envelope, do Wall Street. But you had to work for this company and, you had to know the name of it. And growing up, you had to look at it a certain way. I moved down here. I'm like, I'm an investment banker. I got buddies making a lot more money in ways I never even thought imaginable, right? It wasn't like this corporate route. And it really gave me a newfound respect that I just didn't see in New York because it's such a rat race. It was like, they I don't want to say they poison your mind, but it's a brainwashing. Like you walk in your first day in investment banking class, they give you a bag with your bank's name on it, right? It's just like, that's your identity. In Miami, nobody cares about that shit, right? Nobody cares about, you work for Goldman Sachs? Well, I work for Merrill Lynch, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's funny because in New York, people would ask you meet somebody out at the bar, you meet a girl or even a buddy or something like that. Before they're even like, what's your name? They'd be like, so what do you do? And it was a freeing feeling moving down here to Miami. When I first moved, kind of took it too far to the extreme where there was like no industry, but it was like, I went like 3 months before anybody was like, hey, what do you do? I think I just like offered it up one day. It didn't even make sense. They're like, what do you want for lunch? I'm like, I work in investment banking, but it was like, I just went so long with like, that was like how you learn to identify yourself to like, nobody cared anymore. I think the healthy balance is somewhere in between.
So what does success mean to you?
To me now, very different, man. Very different to what it was before. Like I said, I drive around town in a golf cart, dude. Like, I love it, right? I was thinking about this for my little girl. I'm like, education is so important. And we teach the sciences, we teach this. What we don't teach people how to do? It's be happy, right? Think about how much time we think and we spend in life learning or doing. How many times when you were brought up, were you like, how can I help you be happy? Right? Because at the end of the day, when I started praying, when my prayers for my little girl turned from like, I hope she's the CEO, or I hope like she cures this, or I hope she helps millions of people, or I go, well, I hope she just makes the world a better place. I don't know. If you make $10,000 or $10 million, if you're happy, your definition of success is very different, right? I see it all the time down here. I see it all the time. Don't conflate money or a title with being happy, right? My happiness now is derived from doing good. And yeah, I'm blessed, right? Like I'm not a billionaire, but I'm blessed with a nice living. So it's easy for me to say from like, I have some minimum comfort level that's allowing me to live a comfortable life. Maybe if I didn't have that, my definition is different.
Right.
But given that I have that, not that I'm not hungry anymore, but I'm not like, how do I make that extra dollar? How do I do this? Like, how can I help my community? right? How can I help my little girl? How can I make my little girl proud and be like, hey, that's my daddy? And I realize it's not about making money, but it's about doing good for people, right? At the end of the day, you have something that makes you comfortable, but allows you to go out and live your life in a way that you want to live. Like I said, I do think that you probably have to get to a certain point where you're able to have a little flexibility in life and comfort and not thinking like where every meal is going to come from. And listen, Miami, probably more than anywhere else, there's people that are thinking that, right? And those are the people we need to help, especially with inflation. In Miami, more than anywhere else, people are seeing that. It's like, hey, like I'm trying to keep up with the Joneses, but I don't even know where I'm going to live. And we saw that as, some of the gyms we went to, I'm like, dude, image is so much to people, right? I'm blessed. Like I kind of got out of that. I would see dudes come out of the gym, went to a nice gym, getting a Lambo SUV. And then 2 days later, I hear him, he's like talking on the phone, blah, blah, blah. My roommate, I'm like, bro, you got a Lambo SUV, but you got a roommate? And like the amount of time you see that probably everywhere, but in Miami especially, because image is so important to people. Part of success has been freeing my mind from trying to live life for other people, right? So success, simple, you could quantify it. And I have this conversation with my little sister all the time because she's still like the gung-ho Wall Street route, working 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. I'm like, you're never, ever going to get a title or get a certain amount of money. You go from making X to X plus 20%. If you don't condition your mind, you're never going to be like, whew, now I made it. Now I got time to be happy. Nobody's going to do that for you. You need to do it for yourself. You could sit there and keep chasing and keep chasing. There's nothing wrong in life with that, right? Stay hungry, stay hustling. But you also got to sit back and take time to reflect and be like, you know what? I got to be proud of what's behind me here.
Yeah.
I'm living a life now. 20 years ago, I would have walked over a glass too. But that doesn't make every day I wake up happy and be like, whoa, I made it. But you have to self-reflect and be like, you know what? There's a lot of good I'm doing. So happy or success, it's no longer about a title, or it's no longer about wealth or how much I'm making or who my friends are. It's like you look in the mirror, like, did I do good today? Did my smile make somebody's day better? Did something I do actually make somebody's day worse? Right? Did I help? Yeah. I spent a lot of time helping myself. Great. Did I help somebody else? Right? And it's amazing how much happiness can be derived helping others. I just did this fabulous event. It's called Style Saves. Shout out to Rachel, Isabella Grutman. They put this together at the Miami Beach Convention Center, right? We had 15,000, I just sat there and handed stuff out, man. That was easy. They've built this over 10 years. 15,000 kids, underprivileged kids from all around Miami came. Some of them waited hours in line just to get school supplies, right? Just to get school supplies. And I'm connecting with people. I'm literally sweating because bro, what is it? Tell me about school. From one kid to the next. I had groups of little girls come up and hug me just by asking about how their day was. I felt so fulfilled. Afterwards, I started asking them, I'm like, wait, is this I'm taking too much away from this for me. Mm-hmm. That's how much it fulfilled me. I'm like, should I be having this much fun? Like, I'm supposed to be helping others. Like, am I actually doing this for myself? But seeing people, connecting with them, making somebody smile that wasn't going to smile that day because of something you did, it's more than having $100 and now I have 110, or it's more than having an Audi A6 and now I have an A7, right? Like, you get used to that after a day. You can never get used to seeing a little girl that might have all the advantages that we have sitting there smiling. And she wasn't going to unless you sat there and go, ooh, brr. or you say, you know what, honey, how's school today? You're going to learn. And you just realize there's some people that just aren't being connected with, right? And the littlest bit goes the longest way. So it's not about, I'm never going to solve world hunger. I'm not going to cure cancer. And, but I started really changing my outlook on life, and maybe even my definition of success is, listen, there are going to be people out there that cure cancer, that solve world hunger, God forbid, hopefully. It's probably not going to be me. Definitely not going to be me. But I used to think the definition of success was helping as many people as you could. If you go a day, a week, you help one person, but you have a big impact on their life, well, that's success.
Yeah.
That's success.
You think success is tied directly to, for example, today, what the American dream is, or is it something different? What does that mean to you?
Man, we're in a different world. One of the things that almost scared me moving to Miami and Miami Beach and wanting to raise a family, I started thinking, I'm like, am I selfish? Because in so many ways, nostalgia is such a strong feeling. I grew up in the suburbs. I went out and I played in my backyard, played soccer with my buddies. I could run from one house to the next. Am I raising my daughter in Miami Beach only because I love it and I'm going to like not give her that American dream that I had? And that was something that really weighed on me. But I have the happiest little girl in the world. Her friends that she meets, yeah, she lives in a condo now. She can't run out to our backyard, but she can run to the park, right? So you have to be flexible and fluid with the American dream. Yeah, listen, I've had a lot of areas of luck in my life. Love hasn't been one of them. You know, like when my daughter was 1 year old, her and myself and her mom went separate ways, right? Still co-raise our daughter together. But that's not the American dream. The American dream is 2 or 3 kids, wife, you're going to soccer practice, minivan.
White picket fence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Listen, that's not what I have. It's not what I'm going to have. But you know what? You could sulk, or you could say, you know what? I'm going to make my own version of the American dream.
Yeah.
I found a lovely girl that was in my life that helped raise my daughter as well. She wasn't even American, Colombian, Caleño, exactly.
From the, for sure.
And you just take that stuff one day at a time. And it just goes into what happiness is and happiness means. And if you start trying to basically typecast yourself into, well, I need to achieve this. I need to get this title, and then I'll be happy. Oh, you got to be happy along the way, right? So while I might not have that white picket fence and we're going to church as a family, I'm going to do everything for my daughter to make her feel special. And we'll see. I hope she still has the same memories and traditions that 40 years later I hold fondly as a kid, right? That's all I can do. It really hit home the other day. She's in 2nd grade and she's giving a presentation, right? She's dressing up. Her presentation is on Argentina, and she's dressed up like Messi and stuff like that. I thought back, I'm like, oh, I can remember in 3rd grade, I was dressed as Bo Jackson working with my mom. And I'm like, you know what? You never know what day is going to be the day that your little girl or your little boy remembers 30 years from now, and makes you keep yourself in check, because you don't want that to be a day you lose your temper, you do this. So it's like, you never know what moment is going to be etched in her brain. Just like I remember dressing up as Bo Jackson 35 years later. You never know what day is going to be the day that she carries with her. So that's why every day you got to be like, you know what? If this is going to be that day that she remembers 35 years from now, let me make it a good one she remembers, and not because I did something bad.
So another thing too that I think about when we say traditions and hopefully certain things don't change. Miami Beach, when it comes down to, seasons, like, are they? Because it seems like there's a lot of talk nationwide about removing traditions and culture and things like that. And as a man of faith, for example, like I'll look at like Christmas lightings and things like that. Is that still gonna be continued? Is that still in the plan, or
I'm a pretty center dude, right? I don't get extreme or radical one way or another. I represent a lot of people, a lot of different faiths, a lot of different cultures in Miami Beach, right? I can embrace our Jewish brothers and sisters. I can embrace. Listen, I was front and center at the LGBT parade, right? I serve one of my colleagues who's become just a great friend in the LGBT community. I'm going to be sitting up there saying, "Hey, bro, you deserve everything that we do." And the tradition that I had, I want you to have one of those too. But guess what? I care about Christmas, and I know you're going to be right there for me, just like I was for you. So yeah, we're going to be changing. You know, everybody has to feel like, you know, they're represented, but part of that is maintaining our culture as well, right? Like I'm not going to be somehow. Listen, I'm going to be out there being like, "Yo, my man here, he has his husband. I went on vacation with both of them, right? These are my brothers. Like we're sitting here, arms around, taking pictures." But at the same time, I'm like, Christmas is important to me, and we're not going to like pretend to like hide that and be like, "Brother, happy December," or you know, something like that. So it's like, yeah, we can add to our tent, but we're not going to like kick people out of it, right? Yeah, it's I think Miami is really getting it right. It started during COVID, and it's like, keep government out of your life, right? Like I don't need to know who you know. It's weird saying as elected, but I don't need to know who is like my representatives or things like that. I want government out of my life. And when we start getting like too far reaching down, you know, the main job of your local elected officials, keep your city safe, keep your city clean, right? Try and provide some economic prosperity to people, have a good vision. But it's not my job to tell people what holidays there are. Listen, we have a huge Jewish community. Let's light that menorah. Right? Let's light that menorah. We have a huge Catholic community, right? Huge Hispanic community. I'm going to be front and center at Christmas. LGBT, right? We can have a big tent, make everybody feel comfortable. I'm not going to get crazy about shit. I'm not going to force things down people's throats. Listen, if somebody doesn't want to be there front and center, they're Jewish, they don't want to celebrate. That's cool. That's cool. I'm not forcing you to do anything, but don't force me to abandon what's important to me either. Yeah. You know?
What type of role has technology, AI, all these? I don't know if it has any type of changes in your life or within what you guys are doing, but it seems like everything's transitioning into technology, AI. Like you just said, they're opening up a center right there in Miami Beach. I don't know if Miami, from what I understand, Miami's getting a technology district that's supposed to be really heavy empowered. Yeah. So, is there is technology kind of evolving everything? Or?
Yeah, it's exciting times, but scary, especially guys like us, right? Like we're 40 years old. It's like we might be too young to start or too old to be an expert in that stuff. Like we got some interns at our office sitting there looking at a balance sheet. I'm like, okay, carry this too. He's like, "Bro, ChatGPT, can you do this?" I'm like, what? Right. So it's like, I'm not going to be an expert at that. I'm going to try and learn it. But at the end of the day, we're also not close enough to retirement where we could be dinosaurs and be like, hey, so technology is a huge part of life, And we're embracing that in Miami, right? We have tech companies moving down here. Yeah. We're embracing AI. But you know what it makes that much more important? The ability to connect one-on-one with people, right? Because I look at this next generation whose heads stuck in their phones and relying on ChatGPT. They might be able to do something faster, but I think we're going to see a cycle come back around where it's like people use that as a crutch and lost their ability to think for themselves, to communicate. I mean, who knows where things go after that? I'm hoping it kind of comes full circle. It's like, okay, this does a lot of good for the world, but we also kind of need to get back to some normality. Yeah. Now, whether it transitions thus like living in some sort of pod and, you know, where we have glasses, I've heard. I don't know. I have no, you know, I don't even want to think about that. I'm like, if it happens, I just hope it's after my time is come and gone. You know, I'll leave that for the next generation to figure out. But yeah, technology is a critical part of our life. We need to embrace it. But I also think when people become too reliant on it, you lose some of your other skills that, brother, we still had to pass girls' notes in the hallway.
I remember
right?
that. Yep,
Like you
yep,
had to
yep.
wait for her in 7th grade to get out of class. Like, hey, Claire, here, take this, write me and write me back. I'll pick it up after 8th period. Today, it's like instant gratification. And Claire and Johnny have to text back and forth like 50 different times. I couldn't imagine the pressure, right? Like growing up was hard enough, but when you have to be accessible 24/7, that's tough, man, especially with smartphones and things like that. Listen, in some way, I'm like somewhat addicted to a smartphone. Like I can't sit there and watch a movie or a ball game anymore and just keep my phone over in the corner, right? I think it comes in between relationships at some points and things like that. But it wasn't introduced to me till my brain was close to fully developed, right? What, 15, 16, the smartphones probably even later.
Yep.
Imagine having that introduced to you as like a 4-year-old or a 3-year-old. That's scary to start thinking about.
It's a lot.
I talked to some of these guys in Miami Beach. They were the pioneers of Silicon Valley, right? I mean, guys that have created WhatsApp, things like that. They go, don't have those phones in school, man. Like you go out to Silicon Valley, you think these Apple guys let their kids use their phones every single day? No. Doesn't mean there's not good that comes out of it, but there's some bad as well.
Yeah.
I'm fearful for when that onion gets peeled back.
Yeah, and I think everything's in cycles. So at some level, things kind of like re-enter and revive and come back.
I'll touch on that. As a girl dad, brother, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart to see you see a good looking girl at the gym. You're like, oh man, she must have the world in her hands, man. Beautiful girl, beautiful. Oh my gosh. But then you see her sitting there on a stretch mat or after a machine, and she's looking at Instagram, the story she posted, and she's looking to see who's viewed her story. Bro, that's sad. That's sad. That's not success. That's not being happy. When you're sitting there being I'm not living life for me anymore, but I'm living it for others, and not even your friends, not even your family. You're living it for your 300,000 Instagram followers, and you're sitting here seeing how many blue check marks have looked at you. It's an addiction. It's dopamine, right?
Yeah.
Get your dopamine by helping people. Get your dopamine and your fill by carrying some lady's groceries because she's old and she can't do it, or she hasn't had her family here. That's how you get your fix, not by who viewed your Instagram story.
Yeah, that validation is very hollow,
Yeah.
super hollow. When I look at in the tattoo world, one of the things that I'm celebrating, I'm kind of pushing out is the social aspect of things. You literally you can't order a tattoo on eBay. You can't order it online on Amazon. You got to come speak to somebody one-on-one, let loose, get your ideas out. So that's one of the things that I actually embrace and love about this tattoo world is really you really have to come to somebody and kind of share and have a social moment and build and create something, and then it becomes a tattoo, So that's kind of what I'm pushing on my end to, I guess, fight a little bit against technology in a way.
Those moments in life might become more and more rare.
Yeah.
And it's sad to think maybe it is that going back to that nostalgic world.
Yeah.
Where we think, oh, this is how life should be. I don't know. I think we had a nice upbringing, but those moments to connect one-on-one where you have something tangible, like a tangible product. And you're just sitting down there discussing, hey, Steve, I want this. Maybe this. Yeah, they seem to be becoming rarer and rarer.
Yeah, and I think they're going to be even more special.
Yeah.
So let's hope they don't go away, and I'm going to fight very hard not to do that. And talk about fights. You just had a situation. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool.
So you got into a situation where somebody had a gun pointed at you. Obviously, thank God we're here.
For the grace of God.
But can you just talk a little bit about what happened, how you came out of it, and how it maybe perhaps it changed your life?
Yeah. Monday morning, like any other, right? Walking down to my car, live in a beautiful, nice building, secured garage, security around. Monday morning, but for the grace of God, I didn't have my little girl with me, right? Any other Monday, I'd be dropping her off at school. Get down to my garage, hang up with her on FaceTime. Say, bye, honey. Go up to my car, windows tinted, sun's coming in. Open my car door. The fuck? somebody falls out of my car. I'm like, what? And I'm like, man, is this my drunk neighbor? Like, they came home last night. They didn't make it upstairs. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. It's 8 a.m. for me too. I'm still getting into the day.
Right.
And I see this dude kind of like stumble, pushes me away and starts leaving. I look in my car, all my stuff's like kind of rummaged through. So I'm like, oh, okay. Like this guy must have broken in. So I call 911, start following him out. Bro, get back here. And talking to 911, yeah, guy just broke in, please. Bro, get back here. And he exits my building, goes out onto the bay walk, and he starts picking it up. I pick it up to follow him. I'm like, bro, get the fuck back here, right? And I'm probably about 5 feet away from him, behind him, right? Just asking him to stop. And he just turns around, gun's already pulled, right at my chest, red laser pointer, red laser beam right on my chest. I said, whoa, right? Put my hands up. I'm far enough away where I can't engage, right? Just can't. But I'm close enough where whatever this dude wants to do, he's going to do. He doesn't have to, be American Sniper to hit. I already got a red laser dot on my chest. And he starts walking towards me. He's like, get the fuck back. I was like, bro, you got it. You got it. Put my hands up. He turns around and runs off, man. Thank God, right? Miami Beach, we have the best police in the world. 3 or 4 days later, I have no idea how they're able to find this guy and arrest him. Still has the same scooter that we saw, on camera. He brought in. Our police department, they knew he was likely going to be armed. They still engaged him. 2 officers put their lives on the line to get this guy. Arrest him. Still has a loaded gun in his waistband, round in the chamber, drugs on him. Take him to jail, take him to prison. There's areas in life in our justice system, like we said, that are gray, right? I get there's inequities in the world that need to be figured out. Guys making more money and more brain power than me can figure that stuff out, right? But there's also some areas like we talked about that are black and white. This was a bad dude, man, right? He had previous felonies in Texas and Alabama. He was in Miami Beach, homeless dude, for no other reason to prey on our community. Videos of him breaking into people's houses, stealing cars, right? There were 10 other felonies pending on him, and he pulled a gun on me, right? Some judge decides, this guy's awaiting trial. Let's let him out on some halfway house with an ankle monitor. Sit in my office one day. I think this guy's still in prison, right? Waiting for his trial. Right. I get a call, Mr. Magazine, use the code word if you're not okay. Are you okay? Can you talk? I'm like, I thought it was one of my buddies pranking me or something. I'm like, what? Here, this dude cut off his ankle brace and takes off. I'm like, fuck, man. Police asked me, like, if I wanted a detail. I'm like, no. Put those resources into the community. Maybe I'm naive, but I'm not worried about me. I'm worried about the community because this dude's out there. He can prey on anybody. Yeah. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, there's one city in the world for him not to come back to, and that's Miami Beach. Yeah. Right? Lo and behold, 3 days later, man, best police again in the world, catch this dude doing exactly what this guy does. Committing crimes, stealing shit. He was just a low life for no other reason than to prey on our community. But our judicial system, man, we're big on public safety, right? Big on quality of life, but we're only as strong as our weakest link. And we could pass all the laws we want. We could have the best police in the world, arrest people when they do bad and they deserve it. You have some judge that's like, this guy put a gun on somebody, send him to a country club down in Homestead to let him rehab. Right. That's the weak link. And that's where you're going to get, the inefficiencies in the system. And, that dude, if he wasn't arrested, he was going to be out there causing trouble until he got rearrested. And, for the grace of God, he did. Yeah. And has that changed your outlook, in any way, or just kind of like another day at the office? It'll always be with me, right? To this day, I go out to my car. I try not to think about it, but especially when I'm with Capri, my girl, I don't even think about it until I go to open that door, and then it just hits. But our city manager called that day, and like 3 hours after it happened, she's like, oh my God, you must be, we're thinking about you, we're praying, you must be distraught. I'm like, actually, I'm drinking my pre-workout to hit the gym a little later today, but not to minimize the situation, but if it had to happen, I'm glad it happened to me because I can compartmentalize.
Yes.
Right? Listen, that shit happened, move on in life. Yeah, you're a little more conscious. You realize that, whether it's some dude cuts you off in a car or some dude calls you a shithead, yeah, you can escalate that, but where's that going to get you? You realize the bad that people can do. And my life could have changed like that.
Right.
Not only my life, but my family's life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to you. And then obviously, thank God, like you're in good health and good spirit, man. Is there anything new coming right now to Miami Beach that people should be looking forward to?
Brother, Miami Beach, Miami in general, but Miami Beach is going to be the American Riviera. The American Riviera.
Really?
Like, we have some of the most exciting projects in the entire world popping up. When you think like down in that Collins Avenue area, right around Lincoln Road, you're going to have the Amman Hotel, 6-star hotel. You're going to have the Raleigh and the Shore Club that are being renovated, right? You have, this is some of the most expensive real estate in the world. You have apartments selling there for $6,000 a square foot, $100 million penthouses. You're going to have Casa Cipriani. We have some of the most exciting companies in the world, whether they be hedge funds, tech companies, or these new film production design studios. Brother, Miami and Miami Beach, it really seems like just like the epicenter of everything. We have the FIFA World Cup coming. F1 is turned into like the CNB scene.
Yeah.
Art Basel's coming up. It's endless. But there truly is something for everybody, right? Not everybody, including me, is going to be living in those $6,000 a square foot, beachfront hotels. But our city is built on everybody being able to be included. So we have some of the most exciting things in the world, some of the best restaurants opening. Mila on Lincoln Road. Great guys, right? They had a concept. As the story goes, they were this close to it not working because the timing was like open a week before COVID. Those guys saw it through, got pushed over the finish line, is the #1 grossing restaurant in the entire country, right? The entire country, $53 million. A restaurant on Lincoln Road did, right? So you see everybody now, they want a piece of that pie. So we have 5 more restaurants coming up. We got the guys from Delilah, right? Great restaurant out in LA, Las Vegas. One open downtown. They're coming to Lincoln Road. We got Negroni coming. I could sit here and take up the rest of your podcast about the exciting stuff.
It's your
coming
podcast.
Coming to Miami Beach. And it's a blessing. I am so proud.
Yeah.
I'd be proud living here just as a resident, partaking in this, but to be able to like be at the forefront and working on this and like putting my little touches on it more than anything else, brother, what I am is I'm a champion, right? I champion this. Like I am the cheerleader, right?
Mm-hmm,
It is Miami Beach is the best. Miami is the best. How can I help? Right? I'm not going to recreate the wheel, but it's like, let's roll out that red carpet and how can we help make this the best city to live, work, play, and raise a family, man, and to visit. Everything else will take care of itself. Is
there a lot more space for big companies to come in and add their flair to it? Or just
in Miami, yes. Listen, we appreciate the small scale that we have in Miami Beach, so we're never going to have like a 60-story office tower. But Brickell's a 10-minute ride away, right? We're going to have ferries that take us over there. Yeah, so if you're bringing 10,000 employees, Miami Beach probably isn't the right place. But you have a hedge fund, you have a family office, you have a creative design studio, you got 150, 200 employees. Who wouldn't love to live on Lincoln Road, right? You sit there, you're a block away from the beach. You got the top restaurants in the world right there. You have the walkability, you have the guys, the girls, everything is cool. No better place to be. No better place to be.
Yeah, you're representing a very solid and world famous destination with everything. So that's got to be a lot of work.
A lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a gift, man. I was blessed to be able to do so, and I don't take a day of it for granted because I know there's going to come a time. My term is going to be up, and I'm going to look back at this as some of the most proud, fond moments of my life. And at the end of the day, I just love maybe one time in life, I could go with my daughter. God bless, maybe my grandkids at some time be like, your daddy helped, figure that out. But that, who knows? Maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't. But at the end of the day, if I can help some people that I wasn't able to do before, that's a success.
How long is a term for?
4 years, and would have the ability for 2 terms. So that'll take me to 50. I'll figure out what life looks like at 50 after that, man. You'll probably still be looking youthful, just like this.
I'm trying. Even that's not a
you
word
want to
that
try?
I
Don't get involved in politics. I'll give you that.
For sure. And let me ask you something. What would be your advice to new generations coming out? I mean, just navigating the world. I mean, for somebody who's looking for advice and I guess how to be successful.
I'll tell you, especially to guys, I grew up as one, still am. But life is long, man. I was in my mid-20s. I'm like, oh man, I got to do this, this, and this by this age, right? Like you have this idea in mind, like by 30, life's going to look like this. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans, right? You have to be flexible. You have to be nimble. Yeah, have your vision laid out. Have where you want to go in life, a general idea, but you better be able to pivot from that, right? Because only so much of our life is in our hands. Man upstairs controls some of it. Our surroundings control a lot of it, right? You could have had all your plans. If you couldn't pivot because COVID hit and you can't give in-person tattoos, or you could own a restaurant, but then COVID hit, or I'm a Wall Street guy and the financial crisis hit. Yeah, we have a lot of control over our life. I promise younger people, you don't have all the control. So have a design, a blueprint for your life laid out. But if you need to all of a sudden make the house in the wall in your house square and your blueprint was round, better learn how to do that, right? Have your goal, have your vision, but be flexible and nimble and be able to pivot. Okay.
Well, this was an amazing conversation.
Bro,
I learned a lot. I really didn't know what the job entails and stuff like that. And I'm very proud of you, man. Because I've seen it. I've seen the transition from before. Yep. I think the last time we spoke, you weren't the commissioner. Now you're the commissioner. So I'm looking forward to how you're going to be changing, helping the community, and obviously anything that I can do on my end, I would love to help. And be a part,
I appreciate it. I'll tell you what, man, you've been a role model to me. And let me tell you how, right? And I wasn't planning to say this, but it kind of ties back into the conversation we had today and how we're all growing up and what's important to us now is different. Bro, you got a nice car. I never looked up to you for your car, right? You got this amazing business, dude. So proud of yourself. I'm proud of you. That's not why I looked up to you. I looked up to you because you're a family man. Yeah. Bro, you took the responsibility to raise a girl in this world. That's not an easy thing. And more than the tattoo you gave me, more than this beautiful studio you have, more than that car that I'm telling the police to make sure it doesn't speed through Miami Beach. Bro, the way you looked to my 3-year-old girl that day, and you're this big, strong dude, but you have this sweetness, this soft spot, that you're able to connect as a human being. That's what I always admire most about you. And I'll never forget that, my brother. I'm very thankful, brother. And I appreciate you acknowledging that, bro. And I'm pretty sure we'll be doing this dance to the end, man. Brother, I appreciate you being a part of this. Thank you so much. Thank you, brother. And I wish you nothing but the best in that job. And I know you'll do well. We're in this together, man. We're in this together. Yeah. And all day, every day, Empire is the way. You see it.